The president says he'll be going to Missouri on Sunday, a little consolation to some residents there who might take exception to what they saw him doing today, playing table tennis in England the day after downing a pint of Guinness in Ireland. Now, it's not exactly the stuff to show the show me state. Former FEMA director Michael Brown says a heck of a bad message right about now. And Brown should know these things count in his just-released tell-all book on Hurricane Katrina, Deadly Indifference, the Perfect Political Storm. He says that President Bush had the same problem. And like I said, presidents can't win for love or money on this stuff, right?
They can't. But I think in this situation, they're almost tone deaf. I mean, stop and think about it. Your press office should be recognizing that the visuals that Americans are seeing is of this devastation. Don't put a visual of the president up playing ping pong. It's awful.
So you don't have a problem with him still being abroad with the Queen and the Irish Prime Minister and the Irish, just doing fun stuff with him?
No, I do have a problem with that because it's not like he's at a G8 summit. This is not a diplomatic trip of any sort. This was just he went to Ireland, for God's sake, to visit with some relatives. It's time to come home and give even just the appearance, Neil. Politics is about the perception. In this case, the perception is the president is detached. He's more concerned about, we just saw on Fox, raising a toast to the Queen. People have died. Things are pretty rough in Missouri
So that was
right now.
the rap against President Bush and the famous flyover incident
Yes.
you recount in your book. Now, when Karl Rove was here referring to his handling of that, because he said that was his responsibility, the flyover, you say that when the president, soon after Katrina, just blew up there, that the flyover was a bad idea. You said that he should have come down there, and it registered. That was an image that stuck.
It was. And it was so easy to fix that because all the president had to do was land in Baton Rouge. He didn't have to get into New Orleans. He didn't have to land
But
at
weren't
Louis
local authorities
Armstrong.
saying, don't get in the way, you'll just
Oh, no,
pull
no.
the fuss over you?
No, because you could have landed Air Force One in Baton Rouge, and all he had to do was walk down the stairs of Air Force One, get that bully pulpit, and say, I understand what's going on, and I expect my cabinet to do whatever it takes to help down here.
In reading your book, Michael, I was struck by the fact that, you threw some zingers at the president, but you didn't go on the vendetta routine, and you were fairly frank about yourself, the former president. But the one thing you said about the president, he was constantly being apprised of what was going on in New Orleans, but instead of canceling unrelated speeches and photo opportunities, you wrote that he seemed to be throwing himself into all manner of inappropriate photo opportunities. But isn't that the danger of being a president anyway? You're constantly thrown into all these different events.
You're thrown into them, Neil, but there's a different kind of event. A baseball game, something for John McCain, is totally different from just saying time out and let's go see what's going on here. It could be as simple as, like I said, landing in Baton Rouge. You could have landed in Baton Rouge and said, here's what I expect to happen. Here's what I want my cabinet to do. Brown, here's what I want you to do. It would have coalesced the group and the team, get back on Air Force One, and then go to San Diego. You can do those things when you're the president.
Well, you were a fair and balanced hitter in the book. You were also very critical of New Orleans Mayor Ray Nagin. He responded way too late to the crisis, you said at the time. You said that former Louisiana Governor Kathleen Blanco was in over her head. Well, what did you mean by that?
The difference is, I'll compare and contrast two examples. I would walk into Florida during a hurricane in Florida, and Jeb Bush and I would walk in together. We would ask our respective teams what's working, what's not working. We would divide up those responsibilities, walk out knowing it would get done. Decisions made right there
So you like
on
Jeb?
the minute. I like Jeb very much.
He didn't flip over his brother.
No, I like the president. I do like the president. I just tried to be honest in the book.
But he threw you under the bus, right?
Yeah, that's politics. That's politics, Neil.
But he had some help, right? Some
aides
must have told him.
Oh, yeah. Well, Chertoff told him and the others told him. Of course they did.
Chertoff, the former Homeland Secretary Michael Chertoff, he was mad at you because you didn't go through a chain of command. What was the deal with that?
Well, it was primarily, in all previous disasters, you worked directly with the White House. I would call Andy Card or Joe Hagan and say...
No, it was the FEMA director goes right to the president.
Right to the president. And
now you have this Homeland Security.
Yes. And so now you have the general in the field, and the president, wherever the president is, and now this third kind of leg of the stool out there saying, well, I want to be involved. And actually making
you just
decisions.
more personally resent having two bosses that came out of the blue? Homeland Security was created under your watch.
Right.
So FEMA reported to Homeland Security. So without giving away the book, you're not a fan of Tom Ridge. You didn't appear to be a fan of Michael Chertoff. Maybe you just chafed at bosses.
Well, when your boss is the president of the United States, and you know that when you're in the middle of a crisis, if you're the president and I call and I say, Neil, I need this, and you get it done, that's the way it's worked since 1979. And with respect to Tom was a governor. He got what the role of FEMA was. I don't think Michael Chertoff ever really got that role.
You give an appearance of him being a little haughty with the motorcade and everything else.
Yeah, but that's politics.
Yeah, sure.
I'm trying to get
Did you have a motorcade?
No, I had my, I had my one little car, and that was it.
I'm joking. No, the reason why I get into this and why I enjoyed the book to this degree, regardless of where you stand on this, because you're an equal opportunity hitter in this.
I bashed all of us.
You did, including yourself.
Including myself.
But what happened with Katrina? You would warn, and the documents are there, the memos are there, the emails are there. You would warn that something bad was coming, that the city wasn't ready for, at the very least, a Category 3 storm.
Right.
And they didn't appreciate it, didn't see it. Local authorities dropped the ball on it. There were no evacuations. Ray Nagin left it in local authorities' hands, or local folks saying, you don't want to leave, we're not going to force the issue. So it sounds like everyone dropped the ball.
Everyone dropped the ball. There was a confluence. That's why I call it the perfect political storm. Because not only was it a major hurricane, but you're now hitting a dysfunctional state with a mayor and a governor who are fighting. The president's off in Crawford doing what he's doing. We're distracted by these wars in Afghanistan and Iraq.
They must watch TV, right? Now, I know you had a dim view of reporters at the time.
I don't know if they watch TV or not. Seriously.
Really?
Really. They get their clippings. They get the news clippings. I'm not convinced they watch the news.
That's very humbling for me. But looking back at this, I was wondering about you know, critical of the president's response, critical now of President Obama's early response to this. What do presidents do when everything hits the fan? Because we've had a lot of tornadoes, Michael. I mean, every other day, are they going to go down south, God forbid, and be down there? What's the line on presidential personal appearances?
On personal appearances, I think there is a time and a place to do it. But the role of the president should be, there should be a consciousness about playing ping pong when Americans are suffering. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to allow the cameras in there. The White House is a bully pulpit, and the president has to show leadership, that he's in touch with what's going on.
These storms that we've seen lately, the argument is that they're going to get increasingly more violent, increasingly more expensive. FEMA just doesn't have the money, resources to handle it. What do we do?
Well, first of all, I mean, the credit card has been maxed out. Obama, the Congress, everybody has spent the credit card to its max. But I disagree with you in the sense that these storms are going to continue to get worse. These go in cycles. This is no different than other cycles we've seen, maybe more.
So don't get caught in the moment.
Don't get caught in the moment. And yes, they're severe. They're horrible. Right. But I used to watch these dry lines form all the time growing up in western Oklahoma. This is fairly typical.
All right. Deadly Indifference is the book, The Perfect Political Storm. Keep in mind, Michael Brown said what you will, handle more than 160 crises, and I mean crises, including a little incident called 9/11. It is the one thing he'll always be remembered for, Katrina. Didn't you do that to Napoleon at Waterloo? That was then. Michael Brown back now.